Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, man. So I'm breaking away from tradition, and I figured I would go ahead and cover the Alice Lee and Irina Krush game. It was actually a really nice game. It started off pretty calm and quiet, and then it got super crazy. So I figured I'd go ahead, why not, and do the game, son. So I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. All of my people in the Philippines, I would say mabuhay. Magandang umaga. It's about to be afternoon type situation. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody? So Irina Krush is originally from the Ukrainian area of Soviet Union. When she was born, it was still the Soviet Union. But anybody who is coming from the Ukraine region, I would say Privit and Spasibi. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. But man, if you guys are ready to go, homie, let's take a look, see what we got for this game. Like I said, it starts off pretty quiet, chill. So we got d4, knight to f6. We got c4, e6, knight to f3. Bishop comes to b4 with check. And this is the Bogo Indian defense. Very super logical. I mean, bishop to b4 check is going to be the most explosive way to develop your bishop and get castled. White has a lot of different options here, but we go ahead and see bishop to d2. Bishop takes, queen takes. And this makes everything pretty normal because we still can go knight to c3 and we're good to go. We do see the move d5, and Alice Lee clarifies the situation in the center by taking on d5, pawn taking, knight to c3. All very typical stuff. Bishop goes to f5. We got e3, castles, bishop to d3, bishop takes, queen takes, c6. And we got castles by white. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, man, this is boring. There's not much going on in this position right here. Like, everything's simple. It's all symmetrical. Everything's traded. Well, you're wrong. That is not it. It kind of is, but it gets crazier. I promise you. I will not let you down with that. But anyway, like I said, a lot of players, just to go to back up to talk about one thing, it is not absolute that you have to capture here. But there are some players out there who don't like going e3 and then developing their bishop somewhere and then allowing black to kind of inconvenience them with the tempo like this. So they just decide to go ahead and take here before they do any bishop development. And that is what we actually see in the game. And like I said, we do see get in this position with castles. And we got the move a5, which is the novelty of the game. Now, you have the opportunity as white to do a minority attack, which is like, tossing some pawns forward and trying to get a little bit of some trading off here and produce a weakness on c6. You can swing some rooks over and start to kind of put a lot of pressure. This knight can go over here, blockade if you want to. You got knight to e5 type situations. So you got a little something going on. But Irina Krush just decides, bro, I'm not even with any of that. I don't want to give you nothing, so I'm going to go a5, and we're going to make it simple. So she goes knight to a4, Alice Lee, and she decides that she wants to outpost her knight on c5 and just live happily ever after. So Irina Krush goes knight to e4, trying to make that as undesirable as possible. We got rook a to c1, knight goes down to d7, making it even that much more undesirable. But I mean, Alice Lee does it anyway because she's like, bro, I'm already 13 right now. Like, it's crazy because she is only 13 years old and she's literally playing like all these grown people. Anyway, we have knight d takes c5, pawn takes c5. We got queen to e7. And I mean, if white is not careful, black can actually kind of build up a little bit of an attack on this pawn right here and maybe go snacking or go pawn grubbing, as Yasha Sirwan would say. So we see the move knight to d4. And we got the move a4. So a4 is doing a couple of different things. Number one, you already have two pieces attacking this pawn. You do have to kind of be careful because the knight comes here to take the pawn. And you do have queen to a3 pinning. So that is why you saw a5 get played. That is just one other way to defend this knight. And also, if you did get an opportunity to start to gang up on this pawn, rook to a5 can come in and be pretty useful. So we got the move f3. Knight takes c5, you got that queen to a3 I was telling you about, and you have to move b6. You got knight taking c6, queen going down to f6, and then knight down to b4. And I think the most interesting thing about this game is the commentators, everything is pretty even. I mean, white definitely has, they're in control of the game. They do have a nice half-pawn advantage. But, I mean, the commentators are like, there was a couple different moves Alice made that they were like, yeah, I don't really like this move. I don't really agree with it. But the computer is literally like, hey, man, Alice is better. So, I mean, when it comes down to humans versus computers, computers are always right. You're going to be wrong, son. So, I'm just saying. Anyways, we do see the move rook a to d8. Rook F comes to D1. Now, the thing with black's position is they do have this isolated pawn, and it is actually like, it's really kind of tough to push it forward. It's possible, but it's not the most ideal situation, and it can create some problems. So, you know, black is wanting to try to do what it can do to get rid of that. So we do see the move D4 here. And the thing that you do have to be careful about is the fact that your king is just slightly open a little bit on this diagonal. So, you know, take care to make sure you're doing what you need to do for that. So we do see the move E4. And I mean, basically what you kind of have to do is babysit this pawn. You do, like I said, have some tactics on this diagonal because you have this queen that could come down here and come in. Or you have, if you push this forward, you do have some queen to D4 check situations coming on. So it's not like you're just going to be able to grab this pawn for all the way free. But we do see the move rook to D6. Now, the thing about the position that we're in is Alice has a really, really good position. I mean, it's pretty dead even, but I mean, her position is good, right? But what can make your position better? Like you're thinking, okay, what are my pieces doing? What is my knight doing on B4? Well, it's not doing a whole lot. Where would it beautifully love to be? D5 exactly. So rook to D6 actually is an inaccuracy by Irina Krush. And she basically allows Alice to get exactly what she wants. And so Alice is like, bro, smooth. I got knight to D5. So not only am I attacking this queen, I'm also attacking this pawn. And the pawn is actually the only thing that's holding down this knight. So if we can get rid of that, maybe we can get us a little pawn situation rolling. But like I said, you do have to be careful. We got queen down to G5. Like I said, trying to infiltrate and see what we can do. What we actually see in the game is knight takes B6, which was a really, really good move. There was a slightly more accurate move that the computer really liked, and it was basically saying that you have to prioritize capturing a central pawn instead of capturing a wing pawn. So what it wanted you to do first is actually go F4. And that just disconnects the queen's ability to come on this square and also attack this rook. And what black is actually kind of wanting to do in this situation is go rook to G6 and threaten some type of mate situations, right? So after this, we'd probably see the queen going back to D8, and then rook takes D4, and you have absolutely no problems. You still have a lot of pressure on this pawn up here. You know, you could swing this rook over here at some point. You know, of course, after you make sure that this knight is not going to be hanging from something like that. But like I said, we did see queen to G5, and we see knight takes B6. And then we have actually the move knight takes E4. And this is actually a blunder. There is knight takes E4 in the position, but it is not right now. So I think what Irina did is she actually kind of mixed up her move order, and she accidentally played like the second move she needs first. I don't know. I didn't see an interview from her, so I don't know if that's like actually the thing, but I know that in the other line I'll show you in a second that that knight takes E4 is actually a move. But in this position, we have reached a point where Alice Lee has a completely winning move that she can play here. So if you want to pause the video and try to find what move she actually found in the game, go ahead and do so. All right, cool. Am I getting blurry? Cool. Yeah. So I think this move is actually quite hard to find. I don't think it was like the easiest move to find ever. And it is actually knight to C8. And it might look kind of strange because like rook to C8 and knight to C8. Like, what am I doing with that? Well, you're doing a couple different things. Number one, I mean, obviously you're attacking this rook. You're also attacking this E7 square. You know, you're pushing this rook somewhere it doesn't really want to go. So what we see Irina Krush do in the game is actually the move D3. Now, what the computer was suggesting was you basically make any type of rook move like with this E6 rook, like to anywhere. The only thing is you might think, okay, well, I can go back here and then I'm double attacking this knight and I'm going to save my knight. Well, like I said, knight to E7 with check completely escapes your knight from being captured, and it is protected on this square. So after the king moves over, you will be taking this knight, and you are just a piece completely to the good. So you are good to go. So this is a really nice find by her in this situation. So like I said, Irina Krush just says, bro, I'm just going to go ahead and leave my work there. But the thing about it is you have to be actually very careful because you absolutely cannot grab this rook with your knight. and I will show you exactly why. If you go into this situation here, you absolutely lose because you get smothered mated. Queen goes to e3 with check. You got the king dance to h1. You got knight to f2 with check. King to g1. Knight to h3 with a double check. King back to h1. Queen goes to g1 with check, forcing the rook over, and then knight to f2. And absolutely not do you do this. Please don't do this. That's a kind of a tough thing because you're so like, bro, I'm gonna get this rook. But if you get the rook, you're gonna die. Don't do that. So, like I said, in the position, we had all of this go on. And then we had the pawn taking e4. So she correctly makes sure that she gets rid of that attacker because it was really nice in the center of the board. Rook goes to d7. You see queen up to c5 because absolutely we want to trade pieces. For sure. You are up an entire piece if you're white and you absolutely want to trade. So what you actually see from here on out is Alice Lee like putting Irina Krush in situations where she is almost forced to trade pieces or just make her position even worse. And that is absolutely what you want to do. The queen goes back to d8. We got knight down to b6 attacking this knight and also attacking that pawn on a4. We got rook down to d4, one of the only moves. Knight goes to d5. Rook takes e4, one of the only moves. Your rook was trapped because it was disconnected from the queen. You got rook taking d3, rook f to e8. And basically, you know, Alice Lee gets in a position right now where she's like, okay, I got everything that I need. I got the little extra piece. So let me just go in defensive mode and just make sure that I'm not dropping blundering tactics, things like that. So she just retreats the rook d back to d1. She got the queen goes to h4 for Krush. We got queen down to f2. And we are really gigantically forcing the issue here. So queen takes f2, king takes f2, and we're trying to see if we can grab us a pawn as black, which you got to try to, if you're going to trade, you're going to want to try to do it to where you can start to grab some material. So the rook goes down to e2 with check, the king goes to f3, we got the rook taking b2, we got rook over to e1, we got rook over to d8, and then rook comes up to e2. And one of the major things that I want to say about the situation with Alice is she's finding every single move that puts Irina Krush in a really compromising position because she doesn't want to trade, but she also has to make sure that she defends this back rank mate. So she can't just go off grabbing knights. So this is a very well executed, you know, from knight to c8 all the way till we get to this point and all the way through the rest of the game. So the rook goes up to b5. We see knight to e7 with check. King goes to f8. And then we see the rook going up to c8, forcing another trade. Rook takes, knight takes, and then we have a tactic actually set up where if we go rook to f8, forcing the king over, we do have this check right here. All these Hikaru arrows. So you don't want to get into that. So we see rook going over to f5 with check. The king goes up to e4. g6, knight goes down to d6 because you got two pieces. So use both of them, homie. The rook goes down to f1. We see king over to d4. We got f5, knight goes down to c4. We see king to g7. And you have to be a little bit careful here because going and grabbing the pawn immediately is going to fail to rook to f4 with check. And you can't block, so you're going to be losing your piece. So you want a piece for nothing. So what she does is she moves down to d3. We got the move f4. So what she's anticipating is moving her knight into a better position. And this rook is perfectly placed to make sure that there is no funny business on this second rank. We got king up to e4. Man. We got king to f6. Knight goes down to d2. King goes to h1. You got to excuse me. Man, get some water, homie. Yeah, I'm a little bit sick. So, I'm trying to make it through these videos. So, rook goes to h1. We got knight to f3. We got the move g5. And then we have the final forcing trade with rook to e1. And that black rook has nowhere to go. And so it is in this position that Krush resigns the game. So, yeah, I barely got through this video. Started coughing right now. I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. And I'm going to see you guys next time.